Hi, everyone. Welcome to this space. Let's take a few moments to pause and settle in and just get acquainted with what is maybe happening or what is showing up for us in this moment at this time. It's August 1st. Happy August. It is my birth month. So this is always like a thing for me. Also, today is a full moon. So things feel super full and expansive. And we want to talk a little bit about like the fullness we feel and our own personal fullness, that we are always whole in this way, and we get the reflection of that in the moon, which is so sweet at this moment in time. So when we can access that and we can connect to it, it allows us to hopefully, plug into our wholeness and into our fullness and into this part of us that, potentially there are always parts of us that are veiled, where we don't see and we don't feel whole, or we don't feel full, or we don't feel like we are enough, or we don't feel like we're good enough, or maybe we don't feel like we're enough ourselves. The we don't feel like we're enough is always sort of in the conversation. And so we want to look at this because just as humans living an embodied life, there is this general underlying truth that we don't feel like we're enough, or there's some level of unworthiness. And even if it's not predominant, even if you feel like, well, that's not true for me, like I actually do feel like I'm enough, that likely means that you've done a lot of work and you've really pulled out all of the threads. You've unraveled all the threads. You've seen the truth of your own reality and your own existence. And when we look at this wholeness, or we look at this fullness, or we look at this light that is the core, the center of our being, in the yoga world, we can look at this idea of tejas, that this inner illumination, this inner light. And when we look up at the moon on a night like tonight, where it is going to be so full and so bright, we can see that reflection of that inner light, of that inner presence here, like in the outer world, in nature. And so it is definitely going to be a sweet moment, even if it's not today, Tuesday, even if it's Wednesday, Thursday, it's still gonna have that fullness. And so just honoring that as a space to sort of meditate on your own ability to plug in to the resource you hold, to the potency, to the vibrancy, to the truth of your own nature. And so when you turn inward in this way, and you look at the possibility that this fullness and this light and this wholeness exists within you, that what we see outside of ourselves on some level is that reflection, then how do we hold that space for ourselves when we feel our own fullness, when we have access to ourselves in that way? How does it show up in the world? And most likely there is a peace or a calmness or this sense of just being, that is fully present in people that really own their resource. And you can feel it, right, when you're around those people that have access to it. And we all have access. It's just the moment and the work and the ability and to take the pause, to turn inward, to plug into what you hold here. And so I want to invite you into the space of your own heart, of your own body, your own mind, your own spirit, and what you have access to in this experience of living and being and breathing in a body. And giving ourselves this time can be really nourishing and fulfilling. And in creating this space to nourish ourselves, it gives us that steadiness, that calmness, that peace. Now, does that mean that we're always steady, calm, and peaceful? No. I mean, let's not be unreasonable. But it's a nice possibility to hold space for. Okay, so when we are plugged into ourselves, no matter what is happening around us, no matter what kind of chaos is ensuing, we when we are connected to ourselves, we are less likely to start to unravel. We are less likely to go with the chaos. We are less likely to spin out. And so the practice is about stepping in, connecting, plugging into the potency, feeling the fullness, feeling our resource, and then going, okay, I'm going to stay connected to that when things start to unravel, when things start to, you know, who knows what happens, right? Things go sideways, things shift in so many ways in our lives that are unexpected, and the reality is we live in the unknown and we don't ever really know what's happening next. And so when we have access to the core of our being, then whatever happens outside of us, we can engage or we can decipher and we can discern from this place, from this deep place of connection. So come take a nice, comfortable seat and feel your sitting bones. You can rock a little bit from side to side. See if the left side of your pelvis or the right side of the pelvis is kind of settling into the earth more quickly. And see if you can reach down through both sides. Most likely one is lifted up and one is rooting down. And then breathe into the fullness of the back of your body, in the back of your lungs. Draw the front ribs into the back ribs. Let the shoulders come away from your ears. Maybe move your head a little bit from side to side. Maybe roll your shoulders if you feel any tension. Maybe roll one shoulder and then the other shoulder. Let your hands rest on your lap. If you can slide your hands back so that your elbows are right underneath your shoulders, it'll just create a little bit more stability for yourself. And then finding your breath. And I'm feeling inspired to close my eyes, but if you do not want to close your eyes, that's fine. Feeling the rise and the fall and allowing the breath, allowing that pulsation of the breath to draw you in, to draw you into resource, to draw you into fullness, to draw you into connect to what you hold here. And as you honor this pulsation, as you honor the rise and the fall of the breath, we almost slip into the space between the breaths. This is our portal. This is our entry into our own depth, into our own potency. And what does that mean? It means that when we turn away from the outer world, especially when things get chaotic, and we turn inward, can we support ourselves? Can we connect to the rich resource of our own body, heart, mind, our own knowing, the wisdom we carry and hold? And when we connect to the space, hopefully we hand ourselves over less, meaning we don't, when things get chaotic, we don't rely or we don't force someone else to hold our upset. It doesn't mean we don't reach out for support or ask for what we need. The line is very fine. But there is something that happens to us when we get overwhelmed, when we get, you know, when we get pulled in a direction that's unexpected, when we get to a place where we're like at a breaking point or we can't deal. And then it's like, how can I get rid of this? And we can't. So how do we hold it? And then how do we show up in that space to go, okay, what do I need right now to support this? What needs to shift? What needs to change? What needs to grow? How am I going to take responsibility for whatever it is that's occurring? What's my part? When you can hold space for this, you empower yourself. You empower yourself to create boundaries in a meaningful way. You empower yourself to show up as your own support system. You empower yourself to quite literally save yourself from whatever it is that's occurring. And so, as you honor the rise and the fall of the breath and you sit in this space, can you feel your fullness? And I want you to feel and breathe into the place where your ribs split, your solar plexus. And I want you to draw it back and in. And this is your sun center. This is the power center of your body. And we tend to sort of leak energy from this space, maybe even give away our power. And power has, somewhat negative connotation, but can we hold the power and the resource of our own fullness? Let's shift that lens so that we are holding ourselves empowered and strong and connected. It's not easy to hold our power. You deserve the experience of your own self. You deserve this authentic connection to your own resource. To be empowered is that. To hold your power is holding that connection. Can you feel the swell of your breath? And then can you feel the swell of that fullness that you hold within? Where does the mind wander when I stop talking? And can you bring it back? Can you bring it back to the pulsation of your breath? Almost like imagining like that you were lying back in the ocean, riding those gentle waves. Those pulsations of consciousness, those thoughts that kind of fly out, the vrittis, the movement of the mind. Can we just notice them, acknowledge them, and draw them back? Sometimes they are very, very wise, those thoughts. Sometimes they are giving you information, and other times they're just distracting you. And so keep coming back to that fullness. Maybe there's a certain image you can hold. I gave you that option of imagining the full moon shining, but if there's something else that elicits that feeling of fullness within you, maybe you're holding that in your mind's eye as you sit with your own breath, as you plug into that light. Draw your hands into prayer in front of your heart. Just sealing any intentions you're holding here for your day. And take a nice deep inhale. Exhale completely. Gently bow your head to your heart and to your body, to your mind, to this resource you hold, to that fullness. Namaste. I hope you have a beautiful day.